with the other top developing stories of the morning. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, everyone. And we begin with new threats from North Korea. On state TV today, the North accused the U.S. of plotting to bring down its regime, calling the U.S. gangster-like imperialists. The North Korean government also said it's no longer interested in negotiations and warned it's capable of bringing, quote, final doom to America with nuclear strikes and cyber warfare.
Welcome back to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. In more world news, real fears today that North Korea may be taking more actions to further its nuclear weapons program, setting the world on edge. It turns out that while we were all talking about the Sony hack tied to that movie poking fun at dear leader Kim Jong-un, the rogue nation may have had more troubling plans in the works. According to a U.S. think tank that monitors the regime, satellite imagery seems to show recent activity at its main nuclear bomb fuel reactor, which was shut down, we thought, months ago. Take a look at these before and after pictures released by the U.S. Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University. On the left, it shows aerials of the reactor from December 24th. On the right, an image from just a week later. There are some signs of steam there and snow melt on the rooftop. That seems to be an indication that something at the reactor was turned on, generating heat. I'm joined now by Gordon Chang, author of the book Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. He's also a columnist for Forbes.com. Gordon, thanks so much for being here. So, look, North Korea, as you know well, better than I, already has uranium enrichment sites all over the country. What do you think this might mean?
I think they're looking for one of three outcomes. One of them is that the world doesn't stop them and they get to keep all this plutonium for their own arsenal. The second is we pay them to stop producing plutonium. But the third one, that's the one that really concerns me. You got to remember that Iran has agreed to freeze its plutonium program in its discussions with the international community, and the North Koreans have sold them fissile material in the past, going back to 2002. So I'm concerned that this plutonium is really going to end up in the hands of the atomic ayatollahs.
So you think that even though these are theoretically two different dealings with the West trying to stop the North Korean nuclear weapons program and stop the Iran nuclear weapons program, alleged nuclear weapons program, you think that they're completely related?
Yeah, they've been running a joint program since at least the turn of the century. Every time North Korea has detonated a nuclear device, the Iranians have been on site in North Korea. That Syrian reactor that the Israelis destroyed in September 2007, that was from North Korea. North Korean technicians were killed there, and everybody thinks that the Iranians paid for that reactor because the Syrians didn't have money. You know, you go back that there's a series of interactions between these two rogue states, so clearly they're working together.
For those who aren't familiar with your work, Gordon, you've been very critical of both the Obama administration and the George W. Bush administration. You think that the way they have dealt with North Korea has allowed them to develop ballistic missile and long-range missile capability to develop a nuclear bomb. What should the West do now to stop this?
Well, the first thing is to think of this not as two separate programs, but really as one program with a lot of coordination from Beijing. And until we do that, I think we're going to have piecemeal solutions that don't really help. Unfortunately, I think that we're going to have much tougher sanctions against both of these regimes and very difficult conversations with the Chinese, because if we don't get China on board, there's no point in dealing with Iran or North Korea.
Well, you said with a lot of coordination from the Chinese, from Beijing, why would China want an Iran with nuclear weapons or a North Korea with nuclear weapons, especially North Korea? That destabilizes Asia.
Well, the one thing it does, every time North Korea acts up, we run to Beijing and ask for the Chinese to help, and they extract concessions from us. And this also keeps us off balance. And with regard to Iran, the Chinese compete with the Russians for influence in the Middle East. And they also want the Iranians to give them oil, which is very important for the Chinese economy, but also because they don't want Iran to support the Uyghurs, who are the Muslims in China's northwest, who really resent Chinese rule. So there's a lot of reasons why China wants good relations with Iran, and Beijing knows that the Iranians want nukes, so the Chinese are willing to help